There are definitely people who consider Alphen from Tales of Arise to be a boring protagonist. I am not one of those people, though it's understandable, especially if you're not a fan of the paragon archetype. Alphen very much is the classic paragon, somebody who is strong, of high moral character, who goes out and does the good deeds and saves the peoples and does what he can for the rest of his team. Despite the fact that Alphen's character is not as much centered on the idea of changing as a lot of his other party members, I still enjoyed his presence on the team because, though it may not seem that way based on how I might come off on this channel, I'm a very cynical person in actuality. I tend to have a very negative way of thinking and perceiving the world. So I love stories that convey a strong sense of hope and idealism, and I think Alphen makes sense as a protagonist for a game like Tales of Arise. In a world with planetary scale systematic abuse and oppression, with suffering on a scale that is perhaps unimaginable in comparison to our day-to-day lives, having somebody like this with such a strong moral fiber to stand up for what's right and to stand up for the people who can't fight back, but doesn't lose himself to anger, wrath, and bloodthirst, I think is extremely important as well. The most interesting aspect of Alphen's character arc is the symbolic meaning of pain and the mask. In the beginning of the story, Alphen isn't so much a person as he is an archetype or an avatar of justice and retribution for the people who have suffered at the hands of the Renans. But as the story progresses and he loses his mask, he becomes more and more of himself. He begins to feel not just physical pain, but all of the emotional pain that comes with being a human being, with being a person and living and existing in the world. All of that comes flooding back into him, and he hits a breaking point where he doesn't know whether he can continue moving forward because of all the pain he feels. But with the encouragement of his friends, he manages to pick himself back up and continue living. To be a little blunt, the message here is that living and being a person will inherently give you scars, will inherently make you suffer, but how much are you willing to suffer to reach your ideal world, to become happy, to fight for what is right? It is the strong and the people of true moral character who can bear the pain and suffering of the physical world and their internal emotional world and still fight for what's right and still do what's right. That's the difference between somebody like Alphen and somebody like Valron. Valron uses his pain as an excuse to put his boot on the throats of other people, whereas Alphen uses his to save them. Once again, a lot of people view paragons like Alphen or even a character like Captain America as boring and uninteresting, but I think they're an extremely important archetype. They're there to remind us of what true strength and moral character actually is. And while I do like characters that are kind of fucked in the head, it's great to see paragons every now and again as well. But yeah, go out and give Tales of Arise a shot if you haven't played it, and I hope to see you soon again. Later.